Welcome to my kitchen, sweethearts. I'm Margaret Donnelly, 68 years old. I know, after retirement, a lot of you are sitting there right now all by yourselves on the other side of that screen. Maybe your husband left you or passed away, or maybe your kids are in another city and you miss them because the only contact you have is a phone call. Evening comes, you walk into the kitchen, you open the fridge, and you close it without doing a thing. And sometimes you open it again. Nothing's changed in there, but we still look, don't we? If that scenario sounds familiar, write your own story in the comments, sweethearts, because I want you to know you're not alone. We do this because most of the time we just don't want to deal with the exhausting dish cleaning and grocery shopping every single time we need to eat. Today I'm going to show you a recipe that solves exactly that problem, something I learned from my grandmother who lived through the Great Depression. Just a couple of dollars, 5 minutes, and dinner's done. We're making sardine toast. But before we get into the recipe, I want to ask you something. Have you been feeling short of breath lately when you get out of bed or climb the stairs? Do you have that morning stiffness in your knees and joints? Or has your doctor diagnosed you with any kind of heart condition? If any of that sounds like you, watch this video all the way to the end because the recipe we're making today isn't just about filling your belly. I'm going to tell you just how good it is for your health too. Now let me tell you where this recipe comes from. Some of you might remember The Joy of Cooking, published in 1943. My grandmother never took that book off the kitchen counter. The pages were yellowed from grease stains because that book wasn't decoration. It was practically a survival guide. Sardine Toast was one of the most opened pages for a woman who fed a family of 7 on $4 a week during the Great Depression. Because it was cheap, it was fast, and most importantly, it was nutritious. During the Depression, there weren't 3 more valuable words than those. So what do we need to make this recipe? Bread, a can of sardines, a lemon. That's it. 3 ingredients. If you want a little extra flavor, you can add a clove of garlic and a pinch of salt. But you don't have to. There's nothing fancy here. No avocado, no special sauce. Nothing unnecessary goes in. If you're ready, then let's step up to the kitchen, put our aprons on, and start making it. Now we're getting to the hardest part of the recipe, opening the can. Jokes aside, stop here for a second and pay attention. The edges of that can are sharp, sweethearts. If your hands aren't as steady as they used to be, if they're shaking, hold the can with a towel. Otherwise, you'll end up wrapping your finger for 3 days like my sister Helly did. My mother always used to say, anyone who rushes in the kitchen ends up paying the doctor. And that's why my mother never once got hurt in the kitchen. She did everything slow and careful. Don't you rush either. Did you get it open? Good. Now take a look at this can. I'm going to tell you the honest truth. What's inside this can is worth more than your pharmacy. About 5 years ago, my husband Harold had a heart episode. We went to the doctor. He wrote out the prescriptions, omega-3 pills, calcium pills, vitamin D. We walked out of the pharmacy and Harold said, "Margaret, are we taking out a second mortgage for these pills?" $100 a month was going just to vitamins, and that wasn't even counting the other medications on the prescription. When I started asking around, neighbors, friends, my church friend Eleanor told me she'd been using canned sardines and stopped paying for vitamins altogether. And sure enough, 1 can of sardines has 23 grams of protein. Not more, not less, 23 grams. You see those soft little bones in there? Don't you dare take them out. Those bones carry more calcium than a glass of milk. When I told my doctor that, even he was surprised. Now, has your doctor prescribed you calcium supplements? How much are you spending a month on those supplements? Write it in the comments, sweethearts. I'm curious. Because maybe the answer is sitting in your fridge for $1.50. Anyway, my friends sometimes tell me I talk too much, so let me get back to the recipe. But I don't want to move on without touching on the omega-3 situation in sardines. My neighbor Betty's husband, Frank, 73 years old, every morning when he got up, his knees made such a noise that Betty used to say, "I can't tell if Frank is coming down the stairs or chopping firewood." That noise comes from inflammation in the joints. And this is exactly where omega-3 fatty acids step in. They reduce that inflammation. 4 or 5 months after Frank started eating sardine toast, Betty told me, "Margaret, Frank walks quietly now. It's starting to scare me." Yes, we're laughing, but this is serious. If you're experiencing that stiffness, that tightness in the mornings, I want you to know you don't have to buy expensive pills for it. Now we can grab our bread. I have a rule here. Whatever bread you've got at home, use it. White bread? Fine. Whole wheat? Even better. Sourdough? Wonderful. Stale? Even more wonderful. Yes, I said wonderful about stale bread. And just like you're surprised right now, my mother's friend Gloria once asked her, "Why don't you throw out your stale bread?" My mother said, "Gloria, a house with a full trash can is a house with an empty head." Gloria stopped throwing out stale bread after that. It was a tough answer, but she was right. My mother always used to toast up the stale bread and serve it to us in all kinds of meals, and we absolutely loved the taste. Anyway, let's keep going with our recipe. We take our bread, we toast it in the toaster, in a pan, in the oven, however you like. I prefer a cast iron skillet. It's a Lodge brand passed down from my grandfather from 1934, a 90-year-old skillet. Holding up better than I am, isn't it, sweethearts? Is the bread toasted? Good. Now take a clove of garlic, cut it in half, and rub it on the warm toast. I do it for that extra bit of flavor, but like I said at the beginning, you don't have to. By the way, I learned this little trick back in high school in my home economics class. Our teacher, Mrs. Patterson, wrote on the board one day, "Garlic is the poor man's antibiotic." I didn't fully understand it at the time. 50 years later, I heard the exact same thing come out of my doctor's mouth. Garlic is known for its blood pressure lowering properties. I've been on blood pressure medication for 6 years, and after I started eating garlic regularly, Dr. Patel actually lowered my dosage. Now, of course, don't stop taking any medication without talking to your doctor, but don't ignore what garlic can do for you either. So is your blood pressure high, sweethearts? How many years have you been on medication? Whatever conditions you have, whatever pains you're dealing with, you can share them honestly in the comments. No shame, no holding back, because I want you to see that you're not alone in this. We place the sardines on top of the toasted bread. You can mash them lightly with a fork, or you can leave them whole. Then we squeeze half a lemon over the top. Lemon is very important, sweethearts. It's not just for flavor. My husband's doctor, Dr. Williams, explained it to us. The vitamin C in lemon increases your body's absorption of the iron in the sardines. If you eat it without the lemon, some of that iron just goes to waste. Let me tell you about my friend Ruthie. Last year, Ruthie was constantly exhausted. She'd fall asleep watching Jeopardy in the evening. She didn't have the energy to go out and do her grocery shopping. Turned out it was anemia. The doctor prescribed iron pills. The pills gave her nausea. Then he prescribed a separate medication for the nausea. Pills on top of pills. I said, "Ruthie, come over to my place. I'll make you sardine toast with lemon squeezed on top." She ate one every day for 3 months. Her blood levels came back to normal. Even her doctor was surprised. Now every Christmas, she sends me a card with one single line on it. "Thank you for the sardines." And just like that, our toast is ready. A pinch of salt on top. That's it. Look at how many dishes are on the counter. 1 plate, 1 fork, 2 pieces. If your hands get tired, if your back aches, if you don't want to deal with dishes, this recipe is made for you. The other thing I learned from Mrs. Patterson in home economics class, a good recipe tastes great. A great recipe cleans up easy too. 50 years have passed and I still live by that rule. Now I'm going to tell you something very important, and I want you to listen to me carefully. After you eat the sardines, never throw away the oil left in that can. Harold poured it out once, and I didn't speak to the man for 3 days. That oil is pure omega-3, sweethearts. Tomorrow morning, take those stale bread slices you've been saving in the fridge, dip them in that oil, and fry them up in a cast iron skillet on both sides. A pinch of salt on top. The most filling breakfast in the world. That way, the oil doesn't go to waste and the stale bread doesn't get thrown out. That's Depression-era thinking right there. And one more thing, don't throw out those empty cans either. You know what I do with them? I take them out to the garden. I bury them at the base of my tomato plants. The can rusts over time, and that rust gives iron to the soil. My tomatoes go absolutely wild. During the Depression, everybody did this. They'd bury rusty nails and empty cans at the base of their plants. My mother learned it from her grandmother. I learned it from my mother, and now I'm teaching it to you. Did any of you already know about this? If you did, write "I do it too" in the comments. I'm curious how many of us are still using this old trick. And that's our recipe, sweethearts. Now let me stop here for a moment and tell you what's really on my heart. I'm not making this video just to share a recipe. I know that a lot of you are tired of thinking about what to cook every single day. I know some of you are spending hundreds of dollars on vitamin pills. And I know that some of you can't tell anyone how hard it really is to live alone. Well, that's exactly what Margaret is here for. One can of sardines costs about $1.50 at the store right now. Bread is already in your house. A lemon is 50 cents. The whole thing doesn't even come to $2. And in return, you're getting protein, calcium, omega-3, iron, vitamin D. If you bought all of those separately at the pharmacy, you wouldn't get out of there for less than $50. I've got a challenge for you, sweethearts. Make sardine toast once this week. Just once. Then leave your thoughts in the comments. Let's all see it together. Let's call it Margaret's Sardine Toast Challenge. I can't wait to hear what you think. Like I just said, making this recipe left us with only 2 pieces to wash. 1 plate, 1 fork. But what about the rest of your kitchen? Those unopened letters sitting on the counter? Those pill bottles piling up along the edge? That teacup in the sink from this morning? I know, sweethearts. I know because I lived through the exact same thing. After my husband Harold was hospitalized for his heart condition, the first 3 months, everything in this house fell apart. Kitchen was a mess, living room was a mess, bedroom was a mess. One day, my sister Helly showed up unannounced. I opened the door, looked her in the face, and said, "Don't come in." Helly said, "Margaret, you've never left a house like this in your life. Why are you letting things get so out of hand?" She was right. I never would have. And I'll be honest, I used to be the one who'd judge other people's messy homes. But living alone wears you down, and when you're worn down, your standards slip. And when your standards slip, the mess grows. And when the mess grows, you feel even worse about yourself. It's a vicious cycle, Dot. That night after Helly left, I sat down and thought, how did my mother keep her house? How did my grandmother keep everything in order? A family of 7, no dishwasher, no vacuum cleaner, no help. But their homes were always spotless and fresh. So how did they do it? The answer was this: they didn't clean. They just prevented the mess from happening in the first place. There's a huge difference between those 2 things, sweethearts. We modern folks spend 3 hours cleaning on a Saturday. We're exhausted, we're fed up, and a week later we're staring at the same mess all over again. They spent 15 minutes a day and never let the house get messy at all. And the lesson I took from that became my principle. You don't need a big clean if you never let small messes pile up. Today, I'm going to share 5 habits that I'm sure will make a real difference for you. Things my mother and grandmother knew, things the generation before us knew that we've somehow forgotten. The 3rd habit is what I'd call a critical lifesaver. And once you've got the 5th and final habit down, you'll barely need to clean at all. You won't even need that Saturday scrub down once a week. These aren't expensive, they aren't hard, they aren't exhausting, but they work. I've tried them, and that's how I know. Our first habit is going to be the touch it once rule. I want to share something my mother used to say, in her own words. She always told me, "Margaret, if you pick something up, put it where it belongs. Don't set it down somewhere saying you'll deal with it later. There's no such thing as later. Later is just another word for forgetting." This rule is actually very simple when you think about it, isn't it? When you touch something, finish the job. Mail came in? Sort it right away. A bill? Into the bill folder. Junk mail? Straight in the trash. A letter you need to reply to? On the writing desk. That pile of mail on your hallway table that you left there saying, "I'll get to it later." That pile never existed in my mother's house. Because everything was touched once and the job was done. You brought the grocery bags in? Open them right away. Put everything where it goes. Don't leave them on the counter telling yourself, "I'll get to it in a minute." You took your coat off? Hang it up. Don't throw it over the back of a chair. Back in high school, Mrs. Patterson had us do an experiment in home economics class. For one whole week, she made us count how many times we touched something before we actually put it away. I picked up the same letter 4 times before it found its place. 4 times. I spent energy 4 times over on something I could have done once. Sweethearts, at our age, energy is precious. Every step, every time you bend down, every time you get up, it matters. If you don't have the strength to handle something 4 times, and you shouldn't have to, touch it once and be done with it. 70% of your house will fix itself with this one rule alone. I'm not joking. So how many times a day are you picking something up, setting it somewhere else, and then picking it up again? Take a guess and write it in the comments, because the answer is going to surprise you. Our second habit is going to be the clean as you cook kitchen. We actually did this habit while we were making the sardine toast just now, and you didn't even notice. I opened the can, I set it aside right away. I sliced the bread, I wiped the board right away. By the time the food was ready, the kitchen was ready too. Only 1 plate left to wash. My grandmother did this perfectly. She'd peel potatoes, wash the peeler right away, dry it, put it back, strain the vegetables, wash the colander right away. By the time the meal hit the table, the kitchen was practically spotless. Only the dinner plates were left. This wasn't obsession, sweethearts. It was necessity. Kitchens back then were half the size of ours. There was no dishwasher. Counter space was limited. If you let the dishes pile up, you'd have nowhere left to work. My mother's friend June never did this. She always let the dishes pile up. And every night after dinner, she'd spend half an hour standing in front of the sink. My mother would finish in 10 minutes because she'd already taken care of half of it while she was cooking. One day, June said, "How come your kitchen is always clean and mine is always such a mess?" My mother said, "Because you clean after you eat. I clean while I cook, and that way it only takes me a few minutes." June changed her ways after that and realized how fast the dishes got done and how her kitchen stayed clean all the time. June, if you're watching, feel free to say hello in the comments. If you've got anything to add, go ahead and share your tips with our viewers, and thank you in advance. So are you doing this habit, or are you piling up the dishes and washing them later? Nobody's judging you, sweethearts. Pour your hearts out in the comments. I'm ready to listen to every single one of you. Without stopping, let's move right into our third habit, the everything has a place rule, and we need to make this a principle we live by. Keys on the hook by the door, glasses on the nightstand, scissors in the kitchen drawer, medications in the bathroom cabinet. In my grandmother's house, every single item had an address, and everyone knew that address by heart like they'd put it there themselves. This wasn't about labeling systems or color-coded bins. It was just repetition. If you put the same thing in the same spot every time, before long, you do it without thinking. Even children were taught, if you used it, put it back. Not on the nearest surface, not somewhere safe, back where it belongs. I actually want to tell you a little story about this. After my husband Harold retired, he spent at least 10 minutes every single day looking for his keys. I'm not joking, every single day. One day I said, "Harold, I'm putting a hook by the door. Every time you walk in, you're hanging your keys on it." He said, "No need, I remember where I put them." I said, "Harold, in the last 3 days, we found your keys in the refrigerator, the bathroom, and the laundry basket. I'm putting the hook up." And I did. From that day on, we never searched for keys again. Because it became automatic to habit, and every time he'd just reach for the hook and there they were. Sweethearts, at our age, searching for something isn't just a waste of time. You're bending over, you're getting back up, you're getting stressed. Your blood pressure goes up, you get frustrated. On top of that, my neighbor Betty tripped on the stairs last month while she was looking for her glasses and sprained her wrist. The glasses were under a couch cushion. If those glasses had a permanent spot, Betty wouldn't be walking around in a bandage right now. Give every item a home. A hook for the keys, a box for the medications, a spot for the glasses. Within 1 week, you'll see that the time you spend searching drops to 0. And now let's get to our fourth habit, the close the kitchen ritual. My mother taught me this one when I was a child, and it became one of the most useful things in my entire life. After the last cup of tea is washed and dried, the kitchen is officially closed. Counters get wiped down. Crumbs get swept. If the trash is full, it goes out. The dish towel gets hung up, and the kitchen is left exactly the way it should be found in the morning. This wasn't just about cleaning, sweethearts. This was about putting an end to the day. When my mother closed the kitchen, we kids knew the working part of the day was over. The house could rest. If you went down to the kitchen in the middle of the night to grab something, you'd find a clean kitchen and you were expected to leave it that way. Now, most of us don't do this. We snack until bedtime, leaving a crumb on the counter here, a glass in the sink there, every single time. When we walk into the kitchen in the morning, we start the day staring at yesterday's chaos. And when your feet are already aching in the morning, your back is already stiff. Having to look at a messy kitchen on top of it just crushes your spirits. Harold's cardiologist, Dr. Williams, told us something interesting one day. Stress wears out the heart. And stress doesn't just come from big things. Looking at a messy kitchen every morning is stress too. I came home that day and said, "Harold, tonight we're closing the kitchen." Harold said, "Does the kitchen have a lock?" I said, "No, but it has a rule." From that night on, we close our kitchen every single night. Walking into a clean kitchen in the morning, believe me, is one of the best moments of the day. Try closing your kitchen tonight. Write in the comments tomorrow morning how it made you feel. I'll bet you anything you'll say, "Why didn't I do this sooner?" And our last one, our fifth habit, the 15-minute evening round. Every night before bed, my grandmother, who lived through the Great Depression, would do a lap around the ground floor of the house with a little basket in her hand. A child's toy, a teacup, a book left on the arm of the chair. Whatever was out of place went into the basket, and she'd put it all back where it belonged. She'd straighten the pillows, switch off the lights. 15 minutes. The house woke up spotless the next morning. This wasn't a deep clean, sweethearts. It was maintenance. It kept small messes from turning into big chaos. My grandmother did it every single night. Her mother did it before her. And her mother's mother before that. After we retired, Harold and I started doing this together. Every night at 9 o'clock, Harold calls it Margaret's Patrol. I walk through the living room, the kitchen, the hallway. Takes me 15 minutes. But those 15 minutes mean I don't have to spend 3 hours cleaning on Saturday. In fact, I don't have to clean at all. Because the mess never builds up, so there's nothing to clean. My friend Ruthie, yes, the same Ruthie, Sardine Ruthie, she said, "Margaret, I can't do that. I'm too tired in the evening." I said, "Ruthie, you've got the energy for 3 hours of Saturday cleaning, but not for a 15-minute evening walkthrough." She tried it for 1 week. The second week she called me, "Margaret, for the first time ever, I didn't clean on Saturday because there was nothing to do." That's the moment she finally understood what I meant. If you're older like me, spending 3 hours cleaning on a Saturday isn't just exhausting, it's dangerous. You're bending down and getting back up, carrying heavy things going up and down stairs. The risk of falling goes up. But a light 15-minute round every evening? That's safe. That's doable. That works. Tonight, before you go to bed, take a 15-minute walk through your house. Just 15 minutes. Look at your home tomorrow morning and see the difference. Sweethearts, I want you to notice the one thing all 5 of these habits have in common. None of them cost money. None of them require special tools. None of them require physical strength. All they require is making them a habit. Putting something back where it belongs is a habit. Cleaning while you cook is a habit. Closing the kitchen is a habit. Add them all up and they take maybe 30 minutes of your day. 30 minutes. And in return, your home is always clean, you're always comfortable, and your Saturdays are always yours. The modern world tells us buy products to manage the clutter. My mother, my grandmother, the older generation in short, they said prevent the clutter from happening in the first place. One costs you money and doesn't work. The other is free and does. I've got a challenge for you. Pick 3 out of these 5 habits and try them for 1 week. Just 1 week. Then come back to the comments under this video and tell me, did it work or didn't it? I want to see which ones you chose and what happened. I'll bet you anything the most popular answer is going to be close the kitchen. And if you've got habits like these that you learned from your mother, your grandmother, your aunt, write those down too. Because this kind of knowledge shouldn't be lost. These are heirlooms, sweethearts. If they disappear, we all lose something. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and send this video to a friend. Maybe they could use these 5 habits too, along with a sardine toast that's quick to make, absolutely delicious, and good for your health. Sharing is free. My mother always used to say, The finest gift is the one you pass along. I'm Margaret. Eat your sardines, call your grandchildren, and don't forget to close your kitchen tonight. See you next time, sweethearts.